Yeah.
Each year,
That's true.
And get the and get a sergeant at arms.
Tony was interested in that.
Can I get a sergeant at arms today, please?
You came in here and I saw the energy, Tony. I thought, he is the guy. He's gonna do this.
That's just that good humor.
Chris, I just sent you an email.
So, thank you.
Sure.
Everybody attention, please. I'd like to introduce our current president. It's Melinda.
Thank you, sir. Morning, everybody. If you would all please join me rising. And we'd like to start off our meeting with by saluting our flag and restating the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would remain standing, we have a timer indicator today as myself, and I left my notes on my computer, but I will do my best to remember them. So there is I was looking at inspirational quotes, and I came across a quote by the worst person in the worst organization in the history of ever, Vince Lombardi, of the disgusting Packard, whatever. It's just awful. But hey, he's got a lot of great quotes. And one of them that actually run really true is very similar to something I like to say, is something like, perfection is unattainable, but if we chase perfection, we might catch excellence. Right now you may all be seated. All right, the first order of business before we do all that, before we get into old business, new business, and everything, we'd like to welcome our guests. We'd like to welcome back Chris again. Please come again. Let us know if you have any questions in the meeting or in the break, in the middle, and anything afterward. And let's see here. So I normally have a few more people. I think maybe the weather kind of got to them, but whatever. Anyway, let's see here. Let's move along to the business portion of the meeting. Do we have any minutes from last meeting? I'm going to guess no. We don't have a Will or Mike here typically on top of that. So do we have any old business we want to discuss? Personally, I don't have anything I want to discuss, so I'll just skip it. New business. Does anybody have any new business to discuss? Nope. How about announcements? All right, so I'll try to reiterate a couple things. So our morning Alex, do you have any announcements or old or new business you'd like to bring up, Alex? No. You don't want to skip you, right? Great. So, as far as announcements are concerned, dues are due at the end of the month, so please get your payment into Brett as quickly as you can. And he has receipts for you, so if you need to turn that into an HR person or whatever to get an accounting person to get that reimbursement, then you've got that ready for you. All right, let's see. I don't think we have anything else to do. As far as announcements are concerned, this week is startup week. If you are interested in that kind of thing, if you're interested in startups, and if you don't know anything about startup week, please make sure to look it up. There's a ton of things going on. I can't name like 100 things that are happening, but please look into it. It's really interesting. A lot of cool things. I'm gonna go do something tomorrow morning. I forget what it was, but something I like.
Tomorrow morning at Bitco.
It's at 7:30, so it's really early. Some sort of entrepreneur networking type thing. I forget what it sounded really interesting. There's a ton of stuff going on all day. So before work, lunchtime, after work, whatever. So check it out. It's really interesting. A lot of great things. And of course, they have startup weekends. All right. Today's Toastmaster is Alex. Good thing we got perfect timing. Fantastic. If we could all give me a warm welcome for today's Toastmaster, Alex.
Thank you, Vince. Good morning, fellow TechMasters. Please turn off your electronic devices. Now, I understand we cannot leave us as we have to write notes, but I'm just saying, please pay attention to speakers and please pay attention to especially table topic speakers. Okay, and Vince reminds me that we all should have name tags, and we have many. If you don't have your own, you can pick any of it here. It's okay.
That's the Toastmaster role, right? You're supposed to hand them out.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, every day Would you like to have video?
I think I have one.
You have here. Okay,
Well,
part,
yeah.
yes.
And if you don't have one with your name on it, feel free to grab any old piece of paper, fold it over, put your name on it.
That was one of benefits being in benchmark of New Horizon. They had a free name tag labels.
I'm on it.
Huh?
I'm on it.
Yeah.
Get ourselves some link.
All right. Since it's not a Monday, but it's kind of double Monday after Labor Day, we need to wake up crowd, yes, and I would like to ask today's court jester to present us with some joke and of help us to wake up. And I guess, yes, court jester today is maybe late or maybe is absent in action. Tony, do you have any?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. We have a rescue
All right.
jester.
The internet's a wonderful thing. Joke of the day. A man called home and says, "Honey, I've been asked to go fishing in Canada with my boss and several of his friends. I'm going to be gone for a week. But it's really a good opportunity for me to get that promotion that I've been working for. Oh, and please, we'll be leaving from the office. I'll swing by the house to pick up my stuff. If you'd just be willing to pack it for me, I'd really appreciate it. And oh, if you could, pack my new blue silk pajamas." The wife thinks this sounds a little fishy. So she does exactly what her husband asked, and the following weekend he comes home looking a little tired, but otherwise looking happy. Wife welcomes him home and asks if he caught any fish. He says, "Yes, lots of walleye, and a few pike, but you didn't pack my blue silk pajamas like I asked." The wife replied, "Yes, I did. They were in your tackle box."
All right. Next row, help us being on time. In many situations, sometimes we have a great idea and we would like to share it, but it goes too long and it may make listeners or bystanders kind of tired and we lose focus. So this is very important to deliver our ideas on time. And today's timer row is Vince. Please, could you describe what you're going to do today?
Sure thing, Mr. Toastmaster. I'm walking up here as I grab a few materials. I have a stopwatch and I will be trying to keep track of time as best as I can whenever you are speaking. One important role of being a good communicator and good speaker is to actually keep on time. We're not here just practicing some prepared speeches. We're here to practice impromptu speaking, evaluation, and evaluating every individual portion, and that includes time. So what you'll notice is from time to time, I will be putting up various cards. When you see the green card, that means you have met your minimum required speaking allotted time. When you see the yellow card, that says, okay, we're right in the middle now, you can start wrapping up. When you see red, that means you have gone over, and you should really wrap up immediately or I'll start throwing.
Thank you. I think you have all the equipment.
Got it. Good. Thank you.
And next row will be performed a very interesting person who sent me description of her. She is from New York, and I know there is one New Yorker in here from TechMasters. It was Paul Sivetti, and he frequently told us much stories about how he was moving from New York to Minnesota and how New York culture was incompatible with Minnesota. Created a variety of funny and extra funny stories. So today, our 1 minute Toastmaster is clear.
Thank you. So this is the second time I've done this, and the first time I thought it was just 1 minute speaking whatever you wanted, but it's actually an educational speech. So my educational speech to you, my fellow Toastmasters, is to challenge yourself. You have to learn something and have a reason you come here each week. So whether it is using the word of the day and you use it in the wrong context or you speak it incorrectly, try it, because this is a safe zone where we all should be challenging ourselves and taking something away and learning. Or get out of your comfort zone and speak about something you don't know, you need to research, you use slides when you usually don't use slides, or you use audience participation. Be involved, challenge yourself, and walk away that you learned even something as small as a new word. Thank you.
Next row, we will perform it even more kind of interesting person. What I got it from introductions, the person likes to wrestle bears, but he does not do it for free. He only does it when he needs to save a princess. Also, in a part-time, he works for IOM and would like to be more comfortable speaking in front of groups, big and small. So please welcome Jonathan to introduce our grammarian role.
So as a grammarian, I will be hitting the little bell here whenever someone says like, so, any ticks during their speech. And this will be, or rather, this will be during any times other than the speeches themselves, because I don't want to interrupt during the speeches. In addition to the bell, I will be providing the word of the day. And today's word of the day is contiguous. We'll go pink, I guess. So contiguous, we have a number of different definitions. First one being in actual contact, touching along a boundary or at a point. The more common one that I also think of is next or near in time or sequence. So during any of your table topics or speeches, please try to use the word of the day.
Thank you. Also, as Toastmaster, there is one more thing grammarian can do, is watching for vivid speaking and similars and hyperbole. So one picture costs thousands of words, so we can do word pictures today. Next, there would be table topics. And yesterday there was an email from today's table topics. There is some scheduling conflicts, and most likely Mohammed will not be able to make it. So this serves as introductions. Brad?
I can take care of that.
Can take table topics. So when I ask Mohammed to provide his introductions, I get with explanations that where was a communication breakdown. So this is a very good introduction of a person describing busy family life. So today we have volunteer table topic master who maybe do not wrestle bears and save princes, but he saves TechMasters. Please welcome Brad.
Thank you, Alex. All right, so I was looking at the schedule, and I noticed that Mohammed wasn't here yet. So one of my favorite things to do when we need table topics and have had to do it without preparing for it is I use this little conversation starters app. So I'm gonna use this to generate the questions. I take no responsibility for what it might ask, but we'll use it and see how it goes. Hopefully, some of them will be at least a little interesting. We have a pretty small group today, so I think we can probably hit everybody. And the first question that came up, I immediately thought of Tony. And so I'm gonna ask Tony this first question, because I know you have a great answer to it. Tony, do you believe in love at first sight?
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow TechMasters, honored guest. The question is whether I believe in love at first sight. That's a hard question, and I think the answer depends a lot on how you define love. Sometimes I walk in, see this lovely plate of food, and I'm in love with it. But the same's not true of other people. Generally, I think when we look at a person, just looking at the person might kick in certain hormones, but it's not sufficient to become true love at first sight. Now that initial rush, the joy of forming a good relationship, of starting that adventure, forming a relationship, that's always something that's wonderful, could be wonderful and fantastic. But taking that to truly love, especially where love goes far beyond a mere feeling, but is an act of in many ways, an act of self-sacrifice. That's something that can't happen in a glance. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. My dad always said true love is when you don't like someone but still want to spend time with them. So, kind of interesting. All right, so this question is, I think, maybe geared to the younger people in this group. So I'm going to pick the youngest person in the group, and that would be Alex. So Alex, what do you think your life will look like in 10 years?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master and fellow TechMasters. This is far-fetched question. What my life will be in 10 years? What I know for sure, that since I did not win a lottery and did not invest so much, I will work, that's for sure. Yes. Next, I will be 10 years wiser. Every day, every year, I kind of find, oh, whatever I did last year, it was actually very impractical. And overall, how I have the brains to do it? And some people saying on question, if you have to relive your life, how would you live? And people say, oh, I live exactly what I did. And for me, it's like, I would not do it because I have so much experience, and why would I do so many bumps, hurt so many people, kind of make this way and that way? I definitely have to apply all my experience. The question is, will I have it if we have time machine or not? And I so far think maybe I will not. So most likely I will live exactly how I did because I don't have that experience. And 10 years from now, I would be happy thinking, oh, I did not do so much drastic mistakes, so I don't have to spend next 10 years to recover from them. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. 10 years from now, I want to be on a beach with some form of alcohol, probably. Not a difficult goal. The next question is a little bit political, and so I'm not going to call on people here who are normally politically motivated. So I'm going to ask Vince this question. Vince, if you became president, what is the first thing you would do?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow TechMasters, and welcome guests. So, if I were president, what would be the first thing I would do? Boy. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things to think about here. A lot of people would talk about what kind of executive actions they'd be taking. And of course, I'm kind of against that sort of unilateral decision making. I suppose I would start looking at all of the things to which I would now be privy that I wanted to know for a long time. A lot of classified documents, that sort of thing. Trying to figure out, who shot JFK, what's the deal with aliens, that sort of thing. And that's a joke. But anyway, so I would be looking through a lot of the classified documents, and I also would look at a lot of the executive actions that, well, I'd like to just get rid of all of them, but really just start prioritizing which ones I would be nullifying, eliminating, things like that. And I'd be looking at them I would probably find giant blocks of contiguous executive actions and presidential decision directives that I would like to be ripping apart bit by bit. And I think that it would kind of like be a full-time job just getting rid of all that. And I'd try to find a way to put in one last executive action, which would be something effective. You can't make any more executive actions or anything like that. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop.
Thank you. I agree with the executive actions, but when you stood up, I thought maybe your first thing would be mandating all uniform brown. But maybe not. Leah, now this isn't me saying that you're old, but when you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master. That's a very good question. When I was younger, I went through the typical feelings of a young girl. I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be nothing. So each dream has been crushed in a manner of actually trying to execute said dream. Thought I was a singer, so then I performed and sang guitar, You're So Vain, for my high school. That was a crash and fail disaster. Realized that career should probably be taken off the table. Then I wanted to be a diplomat, so went to school, learned all about the world, and then realized that I don't think I could follow orders from our executive leadership, so threw that off the table. Then I moved to Minnesota, and somebody said, hey, you're kind of nice, and do you like technology? Do you want to do recruiting? And I said, well, it's better than enterprise, rent a car, so yeah, I'll do that. And here I am, 3 years later. Thank you.
Thank you, Clea. When I was younger, my goal when I was a really young kid was to be a garbage man. Because back when I was a kid, the garbage man held onto the back of the truck. They were driving, like, man, that looks like so much fun. I want to hang on the truck. So my parents always make fun of me, saying I never realized my dreams.
You still have a chance.
I still have a chance, but I don't think they hang on the trucks anymore. I think they all kind of sit inside, and it's all automated. All right, the last question I'm going to ask is going to go to John, and this is something that's been picking at my brain for a while since I first met you. So, John, do you prefer to take baths or showers?
Thank you, Tabletop Master. Do I prefer to take baths or showers? On a day-to-day basis, I would say showers. I have a wonderful shower head that has all sorts of different settings. My favorite amongst them is the massage setting. Really works out those knots in my shoulders and neck. I just tend to stand there with it scalding hot. It probably goes as far as it can go at that point. Baths are nice every now and then when I just have nothing else to do and just want to kind of soak. But usually I prefer actual hot tubs. Being that I live in a one-bedroom condo, there's not a whole lot of room for installing one of those. But maybe I could see if they have some more efficiently sized ones. That'd be kind of nice. However, I had also had the dream of installing multiple shower heads within my bathroom because, you have the one side that's keeping you warm, but the other side's kind of just cold. Why not just have it on all sides and be nice and toasty all the time? That's my thoughts. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. When I lived in Plymouth, we had on one side Russian neighbors and on the other side Ukrainian neighbors, and they were actually friends, which was weird. But you're friends with them. So. And I first went to their house. They invited me and my wife over, and I went down to their basement, and they had like one of those big outdoor hot tubs that you would see in a backyard in their basement, like half the size of this room. They had a sauna in the basement, and I guess that's what they spend all their time doing. They have big parties down there, so it was lots of fun.
I'd like to throw in a little late because I feel like I should as grammarian that as far as the shower heads completely surrounding, they would be contiguous.
Very good.
I was going somewhere with that.
That concludes all the questions for table topics, so let me welcome back up our Toastmaster for the day, Alex Carmushko.
Thank you, Brad. That was very fun. Table topics. So please share your magic application with everybody. So far I remember Laura's were using Drudge Report. It was funny, but this was also would be a kind of hot seat table topic master approach. Next, we would go to our prepared speeches organized meeting part. And today I think we do have Brett as a speaker, and we don't have Phil. You're going to
I got it. Sorry. I was just gonna use that.
you're going to be evaluator, yes? Yes. By any chance, yes,
I think this would be a great chance for anyone wanting to practice their impromptu speaking.
yes, this was I was thinking. Anybody have any speech to practice? Going once, going once. Okay, so Brett is the only one.
Unless you want to speak.
Yeah, I cannot. I spent last time, I guess, I don't remember, 2 times ago. So we will have one speaker and one evaluator, and I would like to welcome here general evaluator first, the speakers and evaluators to discuss our next part of the meeting. Everybody, please get a coffee, water, take a short break. In 5 minutes, we will be back.
All right. I think we need to draw straws on who's going to go first.
I'll go first.
Do you think you could evaluate him?
I was hoping it would be somebody else.
Okay.
Would like to
You
be
can
able-
take the assignment. Okay.
Learning code.
Learning code.
And it'll be about probably 4 to 6 minutes.
Well, make sure to, feel free to take your time and expand on it. You should have one there.
I'm going to use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that goes fine. You know, my first access president taking me off the office. Wait.
Then,
I don't think it doesn't matter to me.
Oh, sitting
If you
down.
wanna do it.
or, well, it depends on when I would be president. But vast majority of the case, it would be to punch the guy sitting next to me, the last person. What are you gonna do about it? I'm the president. Take this man away. You're trying to do something Kelly.
For your closing thought of the day, you need this one?
I just, the only reason I'm saying that I had my notes on my computer. I had that quote picked out.
Well,
Well, I have to say-
try to organize the speech.
The thing I actually said for a long time was that nobody's perfect, but at least I'm trying. And then when I read that quote, yeah, that's the same people who lose this power. Well,
So,
or Mike, but I have some stuff emailed.
It was really hard to get
Vince, I skipped it.
nationally evaluated challenge sometimes.
So I didn't know we have an official.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
And so here are the, these are for the content leader stuff, and it's, they're all efficient. right?
Oh, literally
Yeah, content leader.
communication.
But, for project. Yeah, so that.
This is not related to speech.
No. This is actual censorship. And here, I think you should give these out to anybody who has them. So, you know,
Yeah, he was in several of the songs he was here, but you could say like influx of people, like for example, in the years.
The upcoming news, I assume, will continue to be covered.
I'll check for sure, but last month.
Dry allowance, all of that.
Oh, yeah. I'm not really sure, but I'll let you know. Oh, actually, yeah, that process, I had to process your application, and I finally did.
But I just want to make sure that it's not, I'm covered through the end of this month.
No, you're not, yeah, through, I guess would be April.
How much?
$45.
Some questions about payments as far as forms of payment and thoughts.
Yep, that's fine. Okay. That'll be $60. You run Go Street in your browser, so it's like this little plugin that blocks all the crap that makes browsing slow. Like ZDNet, like, look at that. That's all the stuff they tried to load that was like affiliate agents. I just tried to work. Yeah. You'd be surprised. You go to any site and it's just like, whoop.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah.
And you know what's going on. Anyone actually really wants to watch that.
And then something pops up that I can't really more.
Well, it's better now. Yeah, even like.
I just leave then at that point, yeah.
Like, it's good.
Yeah. It's like, there's an arrow and
You should try to come through. But.
It's something I can do.
when's your wife, see like this, look. Yeah, that's this for us.
So that's what I'm saying forward.
Yes.
You mentioned this, right?
When she does.
You guys done at 3, you gonna keep going?
We are.
It says you have to talk about yourself. It's not
Yeah.
It's mostly because I have those classes. So in this case, yes, but if you have something else, like for example, your fashion, so because you go there,
She's still working.
They're like very
self-conscious.
Does she kill lions? She kill lions.
Well,
She works for lions.
yes.
I think you gotta get going. Train stuff for no one. No conversation.
I do not remember you sent any introduction, anything.
Okay, look at the title.
Look at the title. Okay.
You can make up an introduction. I'm curious what you think it is.
Your avatar on GitHub. Fellow TechMasters and guests, time to get back to our usual routine, and now is prepared speeches. And I would like you to make a last glance at your electronic devices. Otherwise, pay attention to the speaker. Try to be kind of participating audience. Don't be hecklers. But if you try to kind of improve our speaker much. You can give some hard time, like during conferences, some people ask something, so you'll be ready. Otherwise, just pay attention and participate. It's two parts. So I would like to welcome here our Brett Esterbrooks as a speaker today with a very interesting speech and his avatar from GitHub. If you've never been to GitHub, please go over and check. It's a very useful site for open source projects. Please welcome Brett.
Thank you. So Labor Day weekend, what's that, like 3 contiguous days off? So yeah, I got to work. Damn. It's Tuesday morning, we've all maybe barbecued, had lots of maybe parties, ate too much, so it's a little bit tough getting the energy going today. So I thought, well, I'll start my speech with the movie review. How many people here have seen Ex Machina? Very good. No one else? Okay, your first takeaway from this, the call to action, see this movie. It's fantastic. That's the star of Ex Machina. That is Ava. So Ex Machina is a story about what happens when a computer becomes sentient. The story starts by a person applying the Turing test or giving the Turing test to Ava and continues to go on as you see this robot machine become sentient. And then kind of takes you down this pathway of darkness as this computer program, this machine, starts to manipulate the human counterparts that she's surrounded by. It's based loosely on Ray Kurzweil's work. We all know who Ray Kurzweil is, right? Working for Google, kind of doing some of the underground Google projects that we don't really know about, and obviously the author of Singularity. So it's loosely based on that. I think the character, the main character, the scientist, is actually kind of meant to be Ray Kurzweil. So it takes you down this dark path of what happens when technology starts to move a little bit away from how we understand it or how we try to force it to act. And for me, with like my black helicopter thinking, kind of into some conspiracies, it's a pretty scary premise. The idea of what happens when machines are no longer machines, they become more human. And the whole concept of AI is very interesting to me. So after I saw this movie, I was just like, wow. Well, one, it's a great movie. And two, it kind of scared me a little bit. It was very just kind of getting into my head. So I started to do a little bit of research on some of the stuff that was out there. So I started looking through some of the published MIT stuff, some of the various articles that have been written about AI, and I didn't really find anything that was taking us to this next leap. But I did run into something that I found very interesting, especially me as a developer, that kind of gave me that little kind of tinge in my brain about, oh no, what's this going to do to me as a developer, and what's it mean for software going on into the future? And, oh, there's another picture of Ava, by the way. She's very pretty, but when you see the movie, she's extremely creepy as well. But what I came across when I was doing the research was an MIT project called CodePhage. Has anybody here heard of that? I had not heard of it. CodePhage is a project that's currently undergoing research right now. They published a paper a few months ago about the research, and they are planning to open source it sometime soon. They haven't really said when. The idea of CodePhage was simply software is buggy, right? Software shouldn't be buggy. How can we make software not buggy? So when they started the research, they kind of did it under the guise of how can we make software self-correcting. So what exactly is CodePhage? It's a very simple idea. The concept is that there's so much software out there right now. We have all written login pages. We've written things to write browser local storage. All this stuff already exists, right? As developers, we like to sit there and rewrite it because we think we're real smart and it's fun, right? But the reality is most things that software needs today already exists in some repository. You mentioned Git. You know, all over the internet, you can find source code that exists for almost every problem that we want to solve. So MIT sought out to somehow leverage this massive existence of code. And so what they came up with was CodePhage. So how does CodePhage work? What does it do? CodePhage relies on two things. A recipient program, which is the program that you've written that might be running, and a donor program. And what it can do is CodePhage will execute certain inputs to a program. It'll pass inputs, do certain things. And when it comes across something that breaks the program or changes the execution in a way that wasn't expected, And you can kind of think of this as, writing maybe a unit test or an integration test. But the mechanism that it uses is much more advanced than that. So the idea is they target this recipient program. They give it inputs. And you can imagine a user going to a login form, typing in their username, and they go, the form field wasn't restricted, so they type in too many characters, tries to go to the database, and it crashes, right? Standard error that we see often. So they'll supply inputs, mimicking user interaction, and when it finds something, an anomaly in how the program executed, it says, oh, this isn't right, this isn't perfect, this isn't healthy. And so they used a lot of the research that came out from goal-based genetic algorithms. A goal-based genetic algorithm is simply a program that executes something and looks for a specific output and to kind of define the healthiness of a program. And if it deems that program unhealthy, well, some work needs to be done. And right now that work is largely, a programmer goes into the source code, alters the code, recompiles it, redeploys it, they retest it, and if it works, it's good, right? But they wanted to do this in a more automated fashion. So CodePhage executes these tests against the recipient system, monitors the output, monitors the execution. When it senses an anomaly, it goes out to the CodePhage magic that somehow has indexed all of this code in some way that it knows, okay, the recipient system was a login page. Let's see what else out there handles security and login. And it goes through those, and it takes the same inputs that fail on the recipient and executes them against the donor. If that passes, they say, okay, well, this works in this one edge case, but what about the case it's supposed to support? So then it does a few more tests. And if it deems that the donor, based on their genetic algorithms, is healthier than the recipient, it can actually take the code from there and replace it in the recipient system. And so I was thinking at first, okay, well, big deal. They're running some tests. They're finding some code. They're going back to the source code. They're moving this in. But that's not how they're doing it. In fact, they can take a program, a recipient program written in .NET, and they can go find code written in Java, Python, JavaScript, whatever it may be, and they can actually merge this code without touching any source code. And the way that they've done that hasn't been released yet. It's the magic behind what is CodePhage. So the end result is that you have programs that are self-correcting if they play well with CodePhage. So this means you can have a program running, and over time it's morphing and changing, the behavior is changing, it's becoming more and more healthy. And it's through this donor program, they're kind of just changing the code as it runs. And again, with no programmer interaction. So going forward, they're kind of starting to state, well, a programmer's job, and this is what actually interests me in this, because our job is to build these things, right? And that's why we get paid, that's why we like our job, we like to build things. But they're saying that in the future, as these types of things grow and CodePhage becomes more and more advanced, the programmer's job will be declaring a set of modules, declaring some intended behavior, and letting CodePhage actually write the programs. The other interesting aspect to this is the kind of ex machina thing. Now, why this isn't the code that's going to get, or the product that's going to get us to Ava, it's not going to get us to something that's probably going to manipulate you. It is a step in that direction as our software becomes able to change to meet whatever the goals that have been defined for it. And at some point, if it can start defining its own goals, well, what happens at that point, right? So it's a little bit creepy to me and very interesting from a developer standpoint. So when I say learning code, it is really not how do we learn code. It's code that can learn how to do what it wants to do on its own. And like I said, it's not Ava, it's not Ex Machina, but it is a step in that direction. And it's something that's going to be available to the public within the next year. We don't know when, and don't really know how it works yet. They've kind of been very foggy. There's a bunch of diagrams about pulling bits from a donor and adding it to a recipient. But the underlying mechanism, which is really the wealth of what they're doing, the important part of what they're doing, is something that doesn't exist right now. As far as I know, it's a new technology that they're using. And for me, that's a pretty awesome thing and a pretty scary thing. And it is a step towards Ava. So again, the takeaway of this speech is watch Ex Machina. With that, I'll turn it back over to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Brett. It was a very fascinating speech. And remember what the speaker asked you to do. Next TechMasters Meeting, we will ask, did you do it?
Yeah.
All right, so now, since we have only one speaker, we will just go to our general evaluation portion of the meeting. And,
I'm sorry. Yeah, just so you can escape.
generator, please come forward. Okay. All right, Tony, thank you. So please welcome Tony Bierstead. Yes, yes, general evaluation.
Well, given the extreme number of speakers that we had today, I have chosen, I think we will forego voting on who is the best or even better speaker. I don't think that there's an argument who did better than whom. So, at this point, evaluations are always the key to becoming a better speaker. And that's what this part of the meeting's about. And at this point, I would like, we are going to have Brett's speech evaluated, and Clea, or no, Vince, you are going to evaluate Brett. You would?
Thank you, General Manager. Thank you, Brett, for giving us a very interesting talk. I thought it was really interesting how the title slide, learning code, sort of a code page, and I was like, what is this about? I thought you were going to be teaching us about how to maybe get your kids involved in coding and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting to kind of smack in the face of reality with another way of thinking about what that could mean, learning code, right? So that was really interesting. Not only that, but so to start off, we should back up a little bit here. Brett was speaking from an advanced communication manual speech called The Entertaining Speaker, and this is the evaluation guide for speaking after dinner. We'll have to change that to breakfast. And the idea here is to, luckily he said he was going to go a little shorter, but it's just 8 to 10 minutes, and I got you at 9 minutes, so you're perfect right in the middle. Great. Anyway, so the idea would be, this is something you would have a lot of storytelling, a lot of interesting anecdotes and things like that. After some sort of meal, you hear a presentation. So I think that based on that, he really hit the nail on the head. So it says, what indicated to you that the audience was entertaining? I kept looking around and trying to see what are people's responses. Are they playing around on their phones? Are they yawning? Are they shuffling their feet? Are they rolling their eyes? They don't care, whatever it is. But what I saw, whenever you said something interesting or something somewhat comical, I'd look around to see what people's reactions were. And instead of seeing one person smile and laughing, I would always see everyone smile. And another thing later on, toward the end, I looked around because I thought I was really fascinated, but I kept, I wasn't putting up the cards right away because I was in rapture, right? And I looked around and I saw everybody really intently, bug-eyed, looking at me and going, wow, this is interesting. So to me, now a lot of times people think entertaining, they're thinking laughing and everything, but if you're glued to the speaker, you're also entertained, and we were all glued to you as a speaker. So I think that is another form of entertainment, which is interesting to me. That's the kind of entertaining that I would like to achieve most. How effectively did the speaker grab the audience's attention and hold it? The attention getter, you jumped right into a question that was kind of sort of not sequitur to what you were getting at, but at least it made us think about, it lead us into what you're actually discussing. Let's see here. And you held our attention with very good storytelling. It's kind of a key component of this speech assignment. And you held us with that because I felt that the whole time you're just telling this story that of crazy AI creepiness that really resonated with me because I knew a lot of the things you were discussing, maybe as deeply, maybe I hadn't thought about it quite so much, but I had a lot of thoughts about who Ray Kurzweil I wasn't thinking, are you going to mention that he's just loony? Are you going to mention that sort of thing? But whatever. That he takes 200 pills a day?
Yeah.
200 of like vitamins and all this stuff. That he also sells, by the way. Let's see. How well did the theme of the talk was AI creepiness, as far as I could gather it fully. And I thought it was, like I said, it was easy for me to follow along because I was really interested in the topic. I don't think I am a good candidate for answering this question about how easily can we be following it, because it's like a typical conversation, a typical thing I can look it up online anyway. How effectively did the speaker deliver the jokes? I thought that the main thing was that they were very well connected. They were really on point. The inception of the attention meter, which was perfectly fine. It's a good way to slap people in the face. I thought that everything was very much on point. And as far as the jokes and things like that, I felt that from the comedic aspect of it, it was a few hard to but I think you hit whenever you try. Most of it was storytelling and anecdotal, which I think, like I said, kind of enraptured everybody. So I think you did a great job with it. As far as the overall impression of the speaker's approach to entertaining the audience, I've been noticing for some time that your storytelling has been getting better and better, and you've also been making it a focus of what you're doing. Conceivably, that's why you chose this name. I don't know, but I think you're doing a great job, and you're becoming more interesting. Thank you, Mr. Evaluator.
Thank you, Vince.
I want to add one other minor improvement. Ex machina. It comes from the Greek.
Really?
And there's a related term that's often used in stories. Deus ex machina refers to that God from the machine, that plot device that people throw into story, into some typically fictional event that happens, and suddenly they rescue it.
I need to rescue my wife if the car does not start. She's in to go because we'll be late for
How do you say that?
Ex machina.
Huh.
Machina.
On that note,
Oh, thank you. That's interesting.
on that note, Mr. Journal Evaluator, sauna, not song.
I'm just gonna finish.
The way.
Yeah.
Nails on chalkboard.
So, I just wanted to add in one. So I would note that if you were going to reuse this speech someplace else, probably.
And that's good because I'm planning to do that because when they open source it, I'm going to play with it and do some presentations on it.
Okay. All right. Now, if everybody would bow your heads, I mean, oh, wait a minute. We don't need to vote on best evaluator or better evaluator today. We will move on to our other reports. Vince, do you have a timer's report?
Yes, I do, Mr. Journal Evaluator. Our business meeting got started way too late and went too long. Didn't really go that long, but it was fun to say. For table topics, we had yourself, Tony, at 136. Alex 131, myself 117, Cleo 106, and John 113. You notice we were in quite the wheelhouse there. I think everybody was really on point. So we did a great job on it. As far as speakers are concerned, Brett 9 minutes on the dot, and myself 4:15. I felt that both of us went long on purpose because we had plenty of time. And that's all I have for you, Mr. Joe. Thank you.
All right. Our grammarians report. John.
Thank you, Mr. General. Let's see. So, as my first time as grammarian, I have used with a few uses of like. Maybe the word like wasn't appropriate. Same for Brett. There's they did know a couple likes. Let's see. Clea had one. Otherwise, I didn't catch anything else. If anyone else had said something as word of the day, we had Vince and Brett had both used contiguous. I threw it in at the last minute. And as far as anything else, you had already covered the ex machina, so I will forego that. As far as the imagery, I think that what has stuck through my mind throughout this entire meeting is in this image of Brett hanging off of a garbage truck. So perhaps not your normal award or picturesque image, but I think I'm just going to go with that. That's my first award.
Thank you.
And now our tabletop master, impromptu as it was, Brett, do you have a wise old owl
I do.
you would like to award?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. The questions themselves were random, but I do have by far a favorite answer, largely because it reminded me of some of the things my father has told me about love. And so I'm going to give the wise old owl to you in response to a question of do you really love at first sight.
Thank you.
Then next we have the Best Visual Effect Award. I really liked your slides were few short. So I think, yeah. I didn't give them much praise. I think the fact that it had pictures, not much word, just a few words, and mostly a little bit of picture, enough imagery just to accent the speech and not overwhelm it, and it was well designed.
Thank you.
As to our best evaluator. Now, one of the things that we've been forgetting to remind people of is there's a reason why we pick a particular award, especially for evaluations. We have this keychain. No, it's not a fish. Well, we have a fish on the keychain, and that can annoyingly, if you push the button, talk. But the real point of this as a keychain is that evaluations are key to us becoming better speakers. And so, of course, given that we only had one, I want to give this to Brett, or to Vince. And Brett, best speaker. I was, I probably should have made a drum roll, but the suspense was probably killing us.
Can I say one thing, Tony?
You just did.
So we only had one evaluator, one speaker today, but I do want to comment. Vince kind of gave us a schooling on how, book evaluations are supposed to go. He read it thoroughly. He went through each point. He had good comments about each one.
Yep.
I know a lot of times when we do the evaluations of speeches from our handbooks here, it's not quite as thorough. We kind of fill it out, but we end up doing more of an impromptu evaluation. So that was a fantastic illustration of using the books to see if the speaker met the goals. So I really appreciated that. Thank you.
And the other thing is the point is that all of us probably, and especially new members can pay attention to this, but all of us, including that are long-term members such as myself, we should probably, when we're doing our speaking, use the books as sort of a guideline of ideas of what kinds of speaking techniques we should be working on. And it's just a way to help us learn better. So I would say that is a great tool. It's great to have a speech coming out of a manual, and then our evaluator using the manual to provide the right criteria for doing that evaluation. We have the next thing that the general evaluator gets to do is give a general evaluation of the meeting, or overall meeting evaluation. Well, we're still a little bit early, but that's because we only had one speech. I think the one thing that we do need to focus on doing is getting started on time and getting through the business meeting. And I think normally the goal here is that the business meetings on this little chart here, it says business meeting runs from 7:30 to 7:40. And I think we've always started about 7:40. But generally, we should be moving into table topics normally by about 7:55 or 8, and then be finishing up our table topics so that we can go on break by about 8:05, 8:10, because the goal is when we have 3 speakers, we can fit all of them in and have time for all of the evaluations. So let's maybe all of us work on getting here on time, making sure in my case, that I walk out the door a little bit sooner than I did. I didn't push myself hard enough, so that I'm here on time. But all of us need to be here, work on being here on time. And there are going to be exceptions like abnormally busy roads, or snow or weather or whatever. But let's all work to be here on time. Let's work to get the meeting started on time and flowing. Because it is not a crime for us to finish up early. With that, I'm going to turn it over back to our Toastmaster had to leave. Go rescue his wife. We have a spark plug. Alex didn't identify a spark plug, and I think we could generally give that most of us could take that today because we all sort of helped energize the meeting given the small size of today's meeting. Fuzzy mouse, best non-technical explanation of a technical topic. I don't know. With that, I'm going to turn the meeting back over to our president, Mr. Vince.
Thank you, Tony. All right, let's see, a couple things. So do we have any last minute announcements at this point?
Mr. President, as many of you know, this Thursday is the speech competition, or speech contest, right? It's being represented, our club is being represented by our president, Vince, who schooled me in the challenge here to try to get that spot. I will be there as a judge. It's I think it starts at 6, is that when the whole thing starts?
I want to say 5:30 for registration and all that, and then I want to say 6:20 is when the actual speaking will commence.
And it's in this area, so if anyone has the time on a Thursday evening, I would highly encourage you to come support Vince. I'm looking forward to it. I've never been to one of these, so it'll be interesting just from that perspective, seeing other speakers, and they're supposed to be funny speeches, so maybe it'll be fun as well. So please come to that if you can.
The quality of speaking goes up a bit. I'm redoing things to try to be a better storyteller because I had a bunch of pictures and it was just very easy to put up a funny picture and say 1 or 2 lines. That's not gonna fly. I get stopped if I did that. So it's gonna be redone. So it will be a new speech if you're like, I've already seen it, no big deal. And it gets you into the mindset of what can happen, what you can be like in another few years of being in Toastmasters, how good people can get, how well run these kinds of things. As far as our attendance today, we might be a little like, we usually have 2 more people. This always happens around holidays. A lot of people are out of town. Just be nice. You would have told us. Anyway, so looking to have more people. We have in 2 weeks, we're going to have a big party. We're going to have an anniversary party. We're going to be 17 people said they're coming, and there are guests and stuff like that too. So I'm expecting the number to grow quite a bit. So we'll try to maintain that. I'm coming up with ideas about how we're going to be presenting that, how that's going to work. So, stay tuned and make sure not only you come, but try to do your best to try to get somebody who might be interested in TechMasters to show up. If you've had people who've been asking about that sort of thing, or been TechMasters or Toastmasters before, say, hey, just come on, check it out, see what we've been doing over the years, and we'll have some pretty cool things going on. So I'm pretty excited about it. And again, if you have anybody who might be interested in Speechcraft, especially if they're new, they start, if you submit your application today or next week or whatever, you can definitely take part in Speechcraft. You don't have to start on October 6th right now. And a couple other things. Remember, we have a booth at NBC, so make sure to proselytize the event as much as you can. And we also have a booth at Open Source North, so make sure to proselytize that. That would be a really good recruiting tool to get a few more members for Speechcraft in next month. And as far as those 2 events are concerned, myself and Muhammad will be going to NBC. We'll be taking those 2 tickets that we got. And for Open Source North, we have 2 tickets. Clea will be going. I was going, but then I was named the speaker. So we have a free ticket. So if anybody wants to go and hang out with me and Clea, let me know. And it should be a really cool event. Both of them seem like really cool events. So let's see, I think that's it for those sorts of announcements and everything. And so I will give you the closing as the invocation timer. I'll give you the closing thought of the day. Another quote I thought was really cool, but came from another person whom I despise, is a quote by Teddy Roosevelt, who is the most overrated Republican ever. And it was something to the effect of, believe you can, and you're halfway there. With that, I will adjourn.
Yeah, I'll send you an introduction email.
Yeah, awesome.
Today.
You're